Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Boutique Hotel Secrets unofficial podcast. My name is Adam Walls, your host, helping you think about that big leap from short-term rentals into the boutique hotel space. I'm doing it right now. Are you thinking about it? You should do it probably. With me, as always, my mister from another sister, Micah Thomas. How are you, sir?
How's it going? How's it going? This is a very exciting week for us, and I think you have some good news you may want to share with the crowd.
I mean, a little bit, a little bit. We've been, you know what? I joined Boutique Hotel Secrets February 1st. I chased my own deal. You were chasing your own deals. We kind of came together on this. I don't know, call it the universe. Something was conspiring to bring us together on this off-market deal, but we are officially under contract. Oh, how do you feel? How do you feel, Micah?
This,
Just saying that.
I mean, it's a little scary. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think that I would be doing this. If you would have asked me in January, one of my long-term stretch goals, a 5-year goal, that was a stretch goal, was to have one boutique hotel. And here I am
Yeah,
in the same year under contract for my first boutique hotel. So just with that mindset, it kind of scares me, but I also know that I put myself in position to do great things. Joining the mastermind, really getting around people who are doing the same things has caused me to really excel so much faster than if I was doing this all by myself.
yeah.
I'm scared, like I said, but I'm also really excited. We got a lot to look forward to,
Yeah.
and this is just the beginning.
I love it, man. By the way, did you write down like a goal card or something like that? Did you put pen to paper on 2025 and what you wanted to happen?
I did, and I did a 6-month check-in back in June, and I've reached pretty much every one of my goals already, and a lot of that probably is attributed to the people that I've been around that have encouraged me along the way. But I think I may have like one or two more goals that I'm looking to reach. One of them being able to retire from my W-2. So I
Nice.
think I am very close to making that goal a reality. So very excited. How about you? Do you have anything written down that you'd love to accomplish?
Get that Freedom Award, man.
Yeah.
I wrote down three goals at the beginning of the year. One was to go from 0 to 1 in boutique hotels. So that's seems like it's in progress or maybe
Love
on
it.
on its way. So that's great. As you know, I found co-hosting last year. So my wife and I bought and operated four properties. Then we did two arbitrage deals, and then we got actually our first co-hosting agreement. So working with other owners who own, second homes, vacation homes, going, I got a family, I got a job. I don't want to be the Airbnb guy. Like, it seems like you're good at it. Do you want to do this for me?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I had a co-hosting goal of like, how could I go from, six total Airbnbs and then through co-hosting reach 12? And I guess I'm at eight today. So again, maybe in progress. And the other one, again, maybe not to get overly vulnerable, but 200 pounds down to 180 was the goal. Clocked in at 190 this morning. So again, just a lot of in progress bars for your boy over here.
Yeah. You are well on your way. 10 pounds, 4 months. You got it.
I joined a
You got
gym. What is happening? I'm buying hotels. I'm bench pressing
This is
again.
a new person. This is a new Adam.
I tell you what, man, it's wild. So, and again, this is why we thought it would be pretty cool to share the adventure, share the journey. Of course, our goal is actually to feature some of the coaches, some of our mentors, other people in this space that are buying hotels, legends in the field. We've actually, not to tease it too much, but we've run into some pretty interesting characters already, and we want to get them on the pod maybe in a month or two. So I think, we've got a lot to share through our own kind of trials and tribulations, the highs and the lows. We want to share all that, and we want to learn from others. And again, the goal here is to deliver some education, hopefully be a little bit entertaining as well, and just maybe give you that extra clarity or confidence, that you too, uh, you know, can get off the couch, stop just watching YouTube University, and like get in the game.
Yeah,
So,
for
so
sure.
anyway, I thought for, today's show, maybe we could talk a little bit about due diligence and what exactly happens once you've gone from a letter of intent to finally a purchase sale agreement. maybe you could walk through kind of the next steps for people that, maybe have purchased Airbnbs or residential, but what's different about doing this on the commercial side?
Absolutely. I would love to delve in. So, like Adam said, we are well under contract. In the moment you sign that contract, the clock starts. You have a limited amount of time to execute this deal, and there's so much pressure because you don't want to come off to the brokers, to the seller, like you can't deliver. If you decide you're going to do something, you need to show up with the funding, with the team to get it done. So not only does the clock start, but you also have quite a bit of work that needs to be done. We can talk about funding if you're going to do seller finance, or if you're going to do maybe creative financing where partial seller, partial senior debt from a bank. Um, and that's kind of what we're looking at right now. So we're in the process of raising capital. We're also contacting banks. And today, just today, I think I called about 15 banks, and it's not so much that I'm looking for someone who can finance the deal, but I'm just shopping lenders. So if you think about SBA, they have several products. Not all banks are created equally, so we may get better terms from one bank versus the other, and you don't know until you call around. So that's the finance side. And then there's a totally different parallel that we're actually running right now that has to do with property inspection, meeting with general contractors, even meeting with interior designers to get your idea put into reality. So we'll be at the property next week, Adam and I, and we'll look forward to meeting several general contractors to get bids, to meet with an interior designer who will look at the property, as well as walking the property with the inspector to learn about things like the electrical systems, HVAC, foundation, roofing, to make sure we're covering all of our bases and any capital expenditure that may come up along the journey is already accounted for.
Yeah.
Mike Shodron says it very well. The last thing you need is a $30,000 problem coming up that you didn't account for. So this due diligence period allows us to kind of take advantage of all the vulnerabilities the property may have. So
Yeah,
that's as far as the
that's great.
property goes. I would love to talk more, and I can go into depth probably for hours about this, but there's also a totally different parallel that we're running right now, and that's with the property's financials, looking at the property and law statements, looking at their seasonality. What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? And I don't want to bore you guys with just talking, but we have quite a bit of work set out for us, and we're pretty much just taking it a step at a time, learning as we go, and putting our best foot forward every single day. Do you have
Yeah.
anything to add to that, Adam?
Well, nothing to add. Again, hopefully you hear there's a lot of work. There's probably too much work. Every day that you open up the laptop and start kind of going down the to-do list, it feels like every day we have to close our laptops to go back to our ordinary lives. But yeah, none of it's rocket science. None of it's really hard, but it is a lot. So, again, just I guess my advice already is like, one step at a time, like you said, eat the elephant one bite at a time. Don't get lost in the totality of like, oh man, we've got 60 days to do these 50 things. Every day, every week, we're kind of, setting out, okay, what are the couple things that we need to do today to move the ball forward? Um, but yeah, obviously you're playing, a huge role in several of those streams. But let's maybe just double click for a second on banking and financing and lending, because every deal is going to be a little bit different. But I would say high level, like we are buying like in the dictionary, there's a picture of a distressed property, and that's our deal, right? Like that's what we've got. We've got every investor's dream, an off market under market value deal that we were able to secure, a little over 3 million bucks. We want to put, a million five into it, completely reposition it, make it cool, make it interesting, make it design forward, Instagrammable. So again, I love kind of our business case and the vision that we're starting to create. But let's maybe sit here for a second and talk about working with banks and lenders, and why are we even jumping to SBA as opposed to just getting a traditional commercial loan or what. So you've talked to more bankers than I think you have in your entire life at this point, just in the last
Correct.
week. But tell us kind of what are you learning? What products have you looked at? Yeah, and just any kind of tips and tricks for anyone that might be thinking about or is going under contract on their first boutique hotel.
That is such a great topic to bring up because it really resonates with me for several reasons. But most importantly, there's a few things that I'll bring up. This property is currently negative cash flowing. It's underperforming the market significantly. And many banks won't lend to a negative cash flowing property. This
And that's
property
what
also,
and and quick caveat, that's with debt applied, right? So
yep,
if these guys own this free and clear, the net operating income says gross revenue minus gross expenses, net operating income is positive, but once you apply debt, like these guys have about 3 million bucks of a mortgage note on it, that's where we're getting the negative cash flow. So I just wanted to hop in just to because again, I didn't quite get all of that the first time I was looking down these P&L statements, but now I think it's secondhand for you. So,
yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
continue.
So thanks for adding that in. Definitely makes a big difference. So they do have debt on the property and they're negative cash flowing. So they're pretty much losing money every single month. And the banks don't really like to see that. And the other thing is this isn't a flagged property. So you think about a flagged property or flagged hotel, that's a hotel that has a franchise attached to it. This is an independently standing hotel, which also poses a risk to banks. So you become very limited in the products you can use if you're going after senior debt or bank debt to finance the deal. Many banks have told me no because this isn't a flagged hotel. Other banks have told me no because of the negative cash flow the property is currently doing. There's two products that are pretty significant for properties of this sort, and they're both SBA products. You either have an SBA 504 or an SBA 7A. These two products will loan off of a pro forma or pretty much a projected amount on what you think the property can do. And it has to be based on data. You can't just say this property is going to make $3 million next year because I'm a great operator. You have to have real market data and some really good insight into why you think the property is going to perform the way you're suggesting. And if you can make a good enough case to the banks, they'll give you a loan via SBA, which is a loan backed by the government on said products or on said property. So while we're going through this process, I'm basically trying to use documentation and market data to convince banks that this is a good opportunity for them to invest because the property is significantly underperforming against the market. And we can improve that with just some small kind of changes and shifts to operations. And without getting too far into detail, I'll just mention that their direct booking website sends you to booking.com. So every organic sale they get, they pretty much lose 15% off the top because people are being forced back to booking.com. So small changes like that. And these are things, again, that you find during your due diligence period where you can add improvement and increase your top line, which also increases the revenue for everybody that's in the deal. Um, so that's just a little bit about the banks. What else could I add, Adam? What else would you say is a difficult thing we're dealing with when it
Um,
comes to financing?
Well, and I guess just be prepared to I don't say open up the kimono, but have your bank documents in
Oh,
order,
yeah,
right? So we've already
yeah,
submitted, personal financial statements, 3 years tax returns, just various documentation on who are you, why are you credit worthy, what experience do you have in this space? So I think those are all kind of table stakes and what they want to see first before they can give you like a term sheet. Because wouldn't it be nice if we could just knock on the door and go, okay, what kind of SBA product do you offer, and what's your interest rate, and what's your LTV or LTC, so loan to value or loan to cost if you're rolling in renovations. But that's not how it works. In fact,
right.
we've sent our, very personal, very sensitive information to numerous banks at this point. So I think that's different, right? Than like in the residential world. I don't know. I've, purchased 5, 6 homes in my life at this point. And I think every time we started with a lender, we finished with a lender. And so I think just mentally preparing for that and just keeping your documents organized and just starting with that kind of mindset that it might take 5, 10, 15 uploads to find the right lender.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Two things I wanted to mention. One, when it comes to commercial real estate versus residential real estate, it moves a lot slower. Things
Mm,
take a lot longer to get done. And then that's not always the case, but I've found that to be the case for our situation and many other people that we're working with in the mastermind. Commercial real estate does not really move fast. Things take a longer period of time, a lot more documents need to be submitted, a lot more due diligence, and it makes sense because the numbers are bigger and it's a bigger risk to the banks. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. The other thing I wanted to mention is after calling so many banks, the one question that I always get hung up on is the experience. Do you have hotel
mm,
experience? And a lot of banks were very hesitant to do business with us because we don't have any hotel experience. While we have hospitality experience, and I would like to think very significant hospitality experience, the banks don't care. They want you to have hotel experience. And if you're doing a renovation, they want you to show that you have some type of renovation, construction experience in your business. So we've kind of danced around the question and we brought in people to be advisors for us to help strengthen our case. But when you think about going to an actual bank, in my head at least, I think they have every reason to say no, and your job is to convince them to say yes. You have to prove to them on paper that everything that you've presented is worthy of getting the loan amount that you want. So
yeah.
we've learned as we've gone, and I think we're getting better and better the more we talk with banks. But that's not to scare anybody away from what we're doing because there's such a good opportunity. And like Adam said, this is the definition of a distressed property, and plenty of people have told us this is where the real wealth is made. You can get a stabilized flag hotel that's already doing good and pay top dollar and get it turnkey and step into money, or you can put the time and the work in yourself and you can see a really big dividend as the deal is going and even on the back end. So if
Yeah.
you can get a distressed property up, running, and stabilized, I think there is a big opportunity to make a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah. I love that and agree. And then maybe my addition here would be, banks make money on money. They're basically, I mean, we think in the commercial or the real estate investing world of like hard money. So I'm going to, borrow a bunch of money from private capital sources and I'm going to mark it up and I'm going to lend it out at 10, 12, 15, 18% and kind of arbitrage and play that. Well, banks were the pioneers of this, just a lot larger volumes at much lower spreads. But as much as this is about spreadsheets and numbers and just recognizing that banks are naturally risk averse, they want to hand out money. They just want to make sure that they hand it out to the right people. So again, they're cautious. They're doing their due diligence. They're vetting. But I think again, for people coming from the short-term rental space, like you have a lot of the skills and experiences that are going to be beneficial in this world. And we just heard from, a friend and again another student in this mentorship program. So I'm thinking Vinny, Micah, right? He
Yeah.
recently shared that, got all the took this, to the bank. They basically said no. They're in a small town, takes it to the bank, gets a meeting with the bank president, and he says, you know what? We wouldn't do this deal normally. And the only reason we're doing this deal is because it's these people. And we already know them. They're great, upstanding citizens in the community. We see their vision, and this is worth kind of going outside of the box to take a shot on it. So yes, everything I'm with you. Skeptical, they're risk averse, all the things, but recognize this isn't just you know ones and zeros. There is very much an art, and your ability to position yourself well, to frame the opportunity well, to frame your pre-existing experience. Or in our case, we actually grabbed somebody who has significant development and construction renovation experience and brought him onto the team. So there are ways that once again, you don't need to do this by yourself. And but can you assess what's important to this bank and recognizing that different things are important to different lending institutions? So that'd be my only add there.
Yeah. And
Um,
one more thing I
yeah,
could
yeah,
think
yeah,
of
go.
while you were talking is just it's all about relationships and not just with banks, but that I think in this line of work, there's always a relationship on the other end of the phone. And the better relationship you have, I think the better chance you have at being successful.
Yeah,
And I mentioned that because when you're talking to a local bank, they're going to be a lot more tied to the community and the growth, the economic growth, the development. If you're going to bring jobs to that town or that city, and they're going to be a lot more likely, I feel like, to buy into what you're doing if they believe in you. You talk to a national bank that doesn't even know where Timbuktu is, that you're trying to buy a hotel, they're going to say, "We need you to follow these strict criteria. If you don't have them, we'll move on to the next person because somebody else does." So if you can develop a relationship with people who are in the area that you want to invest in, I think you can be very, very, very successful and get a lot of people behind you, especially if your plan is to really give back and grow the community, which I think in turn is what we're doing. We're providing countless experiences to guests. We're giving them a product and a service that they couldn't get elsewhere. And we're trying to be the best at what we do. So being able to
yeah,
tap into those relationships and really kind of assess people's emotion and really cater to their emotions and understand that they're human beings as well. And if you can have a relationship, a lot of people will work with you just based off of a relationship and not just experience. So that would be probably
yep.
the one other thing that I would add.
Yep, I love it, man. Yeah, and quite frankly, if you're taking, old, dilapidated, rundown properties and then making them cool or interesting or beautiful, that's actually one of the investors I was chatting with just last week said, I like what you're doing. I get it. I love to travel. I like to go to these remote places. Sometimes there's just not a nice place to stay. But if there were, if Mike and Adam are showing up, or there's 100 others like you across America, we're making America beautiful, just a little bit better, town by town. And a lot of these aren't in big urban settings. Boutique hotels, I feel like, are almost by definition in secondary markets, tertiary markets, et cetera. So we've kind of fallen in love with this idea of, putting up a property close to state parks, national parks, and I mean, part of the experience rather than detracting or a necessary evil to get to that experience. So, anyways, lots of good things that we've covered here today. Again, we've moved successfully from the LOI stage, which, by the way, we were there for a month, to finally under contract. Our bank accounts are both a little lighter after sending some earnest money in. We are officially on the clock. So, I guess my last question to you is, what's one thing that you're looking forward to in the next few weeks, and then we'll wrap.
Yeah. I would say the one thing I'm looking forward to is, and this seems really boring, but it's getting actual bids from contractors. That sounds like such a boring answer. It's not fun, it's not sexy, but there's a reason why. We've been underwriting this deal
Yeah.
and we've been making a lot of assumptions, which you have to do in some form or fashion. And our renovation budget is contingent upon these assumptions. But after we get bids and we talk to contractors, we get a much more clear sense on how much things are going to cost, and it allows us to budget for other items that we need to pay for. So if there was one thing in particular I'm looking for in the next coming weeks, as boring as it sounds, it's bids from contractors.
I love it, man. No, not boring at all, and very important to find out if our estimates and projections can hold up. And
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
let's see what we find. So, okay,
Yeah.
so we'll leave it there. By the way, mine's kind of the design, like actually mobilizing to see what this place could be or should be or
Yes.
wants to be. So I haven't been to the property. It's wild that I bid on and already spent money on a property I've never been to, but I'm excited to go there and then realize this design vision. So, anyways, I think that's more than enough for today's show. So, thanks again for tuning in for another edition of the Boutique Hotel Secrets unofficial podcast. We'll see if we can take that unofficial off at some point. But thanks for paying attention. Thanks for tuning in. Hit us up if you got questions or topics that you'd like us to address. So, until next time, take care.